sound.
We got it. You want it, we got it. So they had their press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different players out there getting asked a lot of different questions. Some of them horrible, some of them okay. A lot of reporters that don't normally cover the game of football. A lot of
Well said. Well said. How they got credentials, we'll never know.
But they're, and the other thing is, nobody's going to give you anything. They're just there so they don't get fined. It's like my man Marshawn used to say. So I did pull an interesting thing from Christian McCaffrey talking about his quarterback, Brock Purdy, as much as everybody wants to give game manager Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, some grief. Here's what Christian McCaffrey has to say about his quarterback.
As Brock goes, he's the leader of this team. Everything starts with him. He's one of the best players I've ever played with. And to be able to do it just in his second year, I think, what he's done, not just if you look at the numbers, and you didn't put his name at it, you would be in awe. And then I think you add the fact that he was the last pick of the draft. You add the fact that I think people forget he rehabbed an elbow the whole entire offseason. He didn't get to throw till training camp, and now he's quarterback in the Super Bowl in his second year in the NFL. I look back to my second year in the NFL, and man, if I had the success that he had, that's special, and I think it's only up from here. And I'm just happy, and we're lucky he's on our team.
That's a different perspective.
Yeah.
I do like the point that, I don't forget about it, but I don't put it as a part of the season as I should, of the rehab and him. We watched the NFC Championship. We knew he couldn't even pick up the football. He was lucky to even be in there to take snaps and hand it off. But for that guy to have the comeback, and we were thinking, too, when they got Sam Darnold, they let go of Trey Lance. Or even when they had Trey Lance and Sam Darnold, like, okay, they're trying to figure out who's going to be at quarterback, even though Brock had a great rookie season. No one thought he was going to be back in a way where he's back in the Super Bowl, or back in, the playoffs, winning the NFC Championship this time and now in the Super Bowl.
Well, he had a couple more touchdown passes than Josh Allen and 7 less interceptions.
Really?
2 more touchdown passes than Tua. 1 more than Jared Goff. And all of these guys, other than Dak Prescott, he had the fewest amount of picks.
Why doesn't Tua get the same game manager title? Because he's got some dynamite wide receivers to throw to that he doesn't have. He could throw it to
and
Tariq
Mostert's
behind
a
them.
dynamite running back. I mean, I could say the same thing
and
about
a
him.
great scheme and coaching plan, just like Shanahan.
Listen, if you're in the top 5 statistically, and you're ahead of Patrick Mahomes statistically, you threw 4 more touchdowns than Mahomes, 3 less picks than Mahomes. Obviously, he's got a higher rating than some of these guys. It pains me when people talk about where he was. It doesn't matter at this point. Doesn't matter. He's been in the league for 2 years, been to the playoffs 2 times. He's going to the Super Bowl the second year. All of those things are massive as far as being a quarterback. Look at a lot of the guys. I don't even know all the 8 guys drafted ahead of him, but I do know one that's the 3rd-string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. His name is Trey Lance. Look at where these guys end up. And it's about getting into a league, like I said about the NBA. Everybody was the best player on their high school and college team, and now you lump them all on to these NFL teams where now you're paid professionals. This guy is as professional as they come. He studies hard, gets his stuff together for game day, and he's got his team with one of the last 2 still playing. 60 minutes is going to decide who the best team in football is. You can't say he's not one of the best quarterbacks in football this year. And I'm not talking about next year or last year. I'm talking about right now. Brock Purdy's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the league. He's got his team ready to win a Super Bowl championship. So I don't care if it's Trent Dilfer, who used to take a lot of crap, or this guy. If he wins a championship, he wins a championship. And to me, I respect that. I don't care where you're drafted. I said it before about Mike Piazza, 62nd round. I don't even know how many guys were drafted ahead of Mike Piazza.
Probably 1,000, right?
Yeah,
probably
62nd round. And, and only as a favor because his dad and Lasorda were best friends. This guy's in the Hall of Fame.
Paid off.
So, honestly, I want people to shove the analytic part of it and the analyst crap and I hope this guy sticks it down your throat because he deserves that. And Christian's trying to say that. I mean, a lot of these players don't get the recognition they deserve. And going back to Doug Flutie or Warren Moon, who had to go to the Canadian Football League and then, throw for 30,000 yards there before he threw for 50,000 in the NFL here. I mean, a lot of guys get disrespected. Steve Young. Yep. But to me, you're working just as hard as the best or last guy on any team you're playing on. And without Brock Purdy, there's no way the 49ers are in the Super Bowl.
I do like how a reporter had the cojones to ask him if he thinks he is a game manager. Here's what Brock Purdy says about that moniker.
It can be a compliment at times where it's like, all right, you got a guy that can come in and run the system well. I feel like that's a compliment. I think that's, you're doing things right mentally, and obviously you're good enough to be able to hit guys that are open and make plays. There's 32 teams in the NFL, and there's not a lot of people that can come in and play the quarterback position well in the NFL. It's a hard job. So if you're saying that I'm a game manager and I don't look flashy in how I do it, I mean, that's your opinion, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, I want to do what it takes to help my team win. And so I think winning at the end of the day in the NFL is probably the biggest and most important thing.
I think he's a very humble man, and it's wonderful to listen to him speak. I know you don't have the sound, but I told you the other day, some idiot asked him, can you name the 8 guys drafted ahead of you? Hey, how about F you? I don't need to. Can they name me? I'm in the Super Bowl. They're watching it on TV. I mean, those are offensive questions this week. Now, you want to ask him next year, you want to ask him 2 weeks ago, that's fine. But, this week is about the 49ers and the Chiefs. And don't disrespect that and disrespect this guy. So I just think, some of the things that have been said about him and other players over the years, it's insane. You and I both know how hard the NFL is to play.
Stay.
Exactly.
Stay.
I know how hard it is to play in the major leagues, and there's very few of us that can say that. So to me, it's like unless you walked in this guy's shoes, shut up. Respect the guy. Be like, hey, what did you do? My questions would be for him would be, how can kids that are maybe undersized or people don't think they have the best arm, don't get overly recruited. Listen, Jason Kelsey, we love this guy because he wasn't overly recruited. Steph Curry, we love that guy because one D1 school, Davidson, recruited him. But now Brock Purdy is a different story because you're calling him Mr. Irrelevant. Nobody to me that gets drafted or even the undrafted guys are irrelevant once you step on the playing field in the NFL.
Now 24 years old, off to a great start to an NFL career. But it's going to be tough to be better than Patrick Mahomes in his great start, as he's only 28 years old, and people are already, and I think we started this a couple of years ago when they matched up in the Super Bowl, but Mahomes versus Brady talk hit the press conferences yesterday. Patrick Mahomes was asked if he is chasing Tom Brady.
I've only won 2 Super Bowls, so there's a couple other guys in front of me before I even get close to chasing Tom. But, I mean, all you can do is just try to be your best every single game, every single day. And that's what I try to do is I try to go out there and play my best football. And hopefully my best football is good enough to win this 3rd Super Bowl. But all I can do is be the best me I can be every single day. And then I'll do that again next year and the next year after that. And hopefully that's at the end of my career, I can say that I'm close to Tom.
Yep. I mean, you're chasing Troy Aikman right now and Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana. And I know I'm leaving a lot of guys out, but, I mean, that's the reality of this. To be even in the same breath as not even Tom Brady, but some of these other great quarterbacks. I appreciate the fact of his consistency in his short career. The fact that every year he's got his team in a position to get to the Super Bowl, maybe get knocked out in the AFC Championship game a couple of times. But that, again, he has played hurt at times. He's had other of his great players out at times. I compare him to Tom Brady because he hasn't had the same amount of superstars around him that some of these other quarterbacks that fall short. And Tom Brady is that guy for me. Tom Brady took pay cuts, changed his salary multiple times to get better players, and went with so many different players, and then went with a different team and won with the Buccaneers. I mean, that's fascinating. I hope Mahomes at one point in his career goes somewhere else and can do the same thing. That would now you're chasing Tom Brady. But being with this team and Andy Reid and that city, which has a lot to do with it, let's not get that twisted. He's got a great fan base. They support the crap out of him for those 9 home games. So he's got a lot of things in his favor by playing in Kansas City.
Still a long way to go, obviously. Still 5 Super Bowls to catch Tom Brady's Super Bowl count. But
well, how many did Brady go to? Brady went to what, 10?
10.
Yeah.
7
yeah,
and 10.
That's where we start. I'm not starting with the wins until I start with how many trips do you make.
But still, as much as that's impressive, as much as what Patrick Mahomes is doing is so impressive, so many people are still looking or dying to get their first one, including the coach of the San Francisco 49ers. He was asked, what does it feel like when you lose one of these Super Bowls?
I mean, I think anyone who loses a Super Bowl probably ranks that up there. I remember always seeing my dad as a coordinator and stuff after those 3 Super Bowls when he was in Denver and I was younger, and how hard it was on him. So I think anytime you get that close and you lose it, the last one, that's definitely the hardest. I've been able to coach in 2 Super Bowls, and you lose either one of them, both of them are heartbreaking. So in terms of pain, I've broken my arm, my collarbone, a lot of things. So those are more painful, but those things last a while, but it's all about getting back there again, and that's what I'm excited for today.
I think he's tortured.
28-3, bro.
Tortured with those
28-3, man. And then to have the Patriots put that in
the other
stones
one,
in the ring.
Jimmy Garoppolo had a wide open look, overthrew it.
I'm thankful to God every day. I don't have to worry about losing.
How different would your life have been?
Life would totally be different. I know I wouldn't be doing this job had I lost the World Series instead of won the World Series.
That's crazy to think about.
I think about it all the time, how blessed I am. And when people are like, well, I didn't lose a World Series game. We were 4-0. I could take that to the grave. And, for these guys to get to that game and lose has to suck big time. If you're Matt Ryan now and now you're looking at it and you may never get another chance, or you're Joe Kelly or Dan Marino or so many other guys. Charles Barkley goes through it with Shaq all the time. I mean, he's the brunt of those jokes all the time. I mean, eventually you got to sit in the dark at home and be like, God, if we had just won. And then you start going over probably, a whole script of things that happened, and it comes, because there's things that happen to me that are negative in my career that they will come back in flashes and really upset you. And I can't imagine being in the Super Bowl, because now that I've covered it so many times and been to it and just watch how difficult I think it is to get to that pinnacle and lose it, I think winning is a relief. Losing is the most pain you'll ever have as an athlete.
Andy Reid has won Super Bowls and he's lost Super Bowls, particularly this time around, this last 5 years. I could even say, just Andy Reid as a person is a dynasty coach. And with what he's done in Philadelphia and even before that, and now what he's doing in Kansas City. But he was asked, is Kansas City, is what they've been doing the last 5 years known as a dynasty?
Yeah, so I think the best answer I can give you is when you're in the mix of things like we are, you don't really look at that. You're so focused in on the next game. And I think if you make that your focus, you're probably going to have a problem and get knocked off whatever pedestal people think you're on. And so this game, there's too much parity in this game to take your energy and put it in that direction. So we're focusing on this game here against a great football team, and it's going to take all our energy to do well against them.
Very Belichickian, I would say, with that answer. That's an on to Cincinnati answer. But the way that this team has been so successful since Andy Reid has been there, I mean, you got to throw the word dynasty in the mix. I mean, this year, obviously, with where they're at in the Super Bowl, they've been in the AFC Championship, what was it, since 2020, 2019?
5 times.
They haven't had a losing record since before 2014. Last 10 years, they've always been above 500. Since 2015, they've won at least 10 games. So, gosh, man. I know if you ask the Denver Bronco fan, the Las Vegas Raider fan, or the Los Angeles Charger fan, they're sick and tired of this team winning as much as they have been.
Absolutely. We don't have the sound on this, but I'll give you the exact quote because I told you guys in a text about this. So Patrick Mahomes told his teammates before they got off the plane. He said, I want you guys to avoid the nightlife and partying in Vegas, and I promise you that I personally will fly you back here. He goes, this is a business trip. This is a quote. This is a business trip. I told the guys that if we win, I'll bring everyone back to Vegas to celebrate. And we talked about this, staying out of trouble, staying out of harm's way, not making stupid quotes. I saw a bunch of guys that aren't playing in the game at a gambling table. You know, oh yeah, and Jason Kelsey was one of them.
Oh well, he's not in the game.
That's what I'm saying. So the guys that aren't playing, dude, have at it. Go have fun, party, do whatever you want to do. Go to all the different Super Bowl parties and stuff like that. But for these guys, I think this guy realizes, listen, we could get our third championship here. Let's not blow it up by having some fun during the week. We should be just thinking this is a business trip.
I'm still waiting for the big surprise. Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be Saturday? Who is going to get caught doing something they shouldn't on one of these teams, and then all of a sudden they can't play, and then the line is going to swing like crazy?
I just think it's so rare. I mean, when I was working with the Nationals or even the last 10 years, being around teams, even the Reds, these guys don't go out.
It's a different
breed. In my day, man, we couldn't wait to go out and have an adult cocktail just to blow off steam. I know that me and my friends, or my friends and I, we would go to seedy, out of the way places so we wouldn't be seen and recognized, especially in a town that wasn't our own. These guys aren't like that. You know, anybody I talk to, and every time I go back to Cincinnati, these guys come off the field. They go on their phones. They check their Instagram, their TikToks, whatever. They check their messages, and then they go right back to their rooms. I mean, if anything, they don't relax enough maybe and recover mentally after their grind. So I think these guys are different, man. They know that brands are at stake. Tons of money is at stake. And I think that screwing it up, and today there's been too many cases of guys screwing up before this big game where it's probably a lot easier for them to stay focused.
My fingers are crossed, Dibs. My fingers are crossed.
Mine are not. I don't want any of these guys to get in trouble. In fact,
I don't want them to.
The regular suspects are busy getting in trouble. I do like Ocho Cinco. Chad Johnson talking about this. He said that if the Chiefs lose, he'll give up McDonald's and all the other stuff that he does that's crazy.
He's in great shape.
He eats McDonald's every day, like 3 times a day. Has always. Marcus Falk. Or what's his name? Falk.
Kevin Falk?
No, the other Falk. Who's the other running back? Marshall Falk. Yeah. Marshall Falk, and when I was doing the Dan Patrick Show, he would usually be in the drive-through lane doing the interview on his way to McDonald's. So, yeah, a lot of these guys are in great shape.
Have you thought of this element with the game? You know, Vegas is stealing Oakland's team, and I know San Francisco is in Oakland, but it's pretty close. And if they lose this game in Vegas, Vegas is just pounding this part of California with just nothing but losing sports and just making the sports fan in that area of the nation just hating themselves and hating life. And it could be bad on Sunday. It could be bad.
Listen, I think what happened, and I've said it before, is an embarrassment to the MLB letting it go this long. They should have moved this team, not necessarily to Vegas. I've never been really a proponent of, hey, let's go to Vegas. That should be they've always had, AAA teams there. And done well. But I just think that, Oakland had their chances for 2 decades. San Jose had their chances for a decade to move this team. Honestly, I don't know why you couldn't move this team, because you got you have a National League and American League team in New York. Why couldn't you move this team to San Francisco? Build another ballpark. The one that they built where the Giants play is second to none. On the water, you actually could look across and see Oakland and see the bay. I playing at Candlestick, knock down all that crap that's over there, put another place back there so they could play. But, they had their chances.
There's one reason. There's only one reason. It's money. I don't want to share no money with San Francisco. I want my own money.
Nobody wanted to step up publicly and try to fund this.
Oh, that's sure. But the owner's going to try to make as much money as possible, and Viva Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, listen, you're spending your billions. You should be able to put it where you want. And even Vegas right now, like we've talked about, it's going to take you 4 years to build this.
2028.
Where are you playing for the next 4 years? Even if you do play in Oakland or Sacramento or even at Arizona State, wherever, who knows wherever the hell you're going to play. Where are you going to play the next 3 years after that? So that's an embarrassment for MLB. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Brandon Lang from BrandonLang.com. He is one of our favorites. He lives full-time in Vegas. Let's see what he is doing during the big game week. Brandon Lang from BrandonLang.com next on The Rob Dibble Show. Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive on Fox Sports Radio.